Before we continue talking about becoming a Christian, I want to clear up some misconceptions that sometimes people have. You might think, wow, living in LA, playing rock and roll, going to all these cool places, meeting all these cool people, and now he becomes a Christian. How boring can life get? I need to tell you at this point in the story, it's just starting. The adventure has just begun. And there's a few things that sometimes people don't understand. For example, if I say, God spoke to me, well, I'm not meaning God spoke to me with an audible voice outside of my own brain. It's something on the inside. Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice. So it's not something outside of the Bible. But the way God speaks to you, it's like all of a sudden you see something or you know something, and it's so clear, it's so real. And it's like looking at a picture for the first time. If you're trying to explain it to somebody, you need a lot of words to explain it. But you see it in an instant of time. And all I can say is when I know God has spoken to me, I know that I know that I know. And this is going to be very important to understand as we continue our story, because my adventure is about to begin. So come with me for the ride. After that night and after that prayer and after reading the Gospel of John, I stayed 2 or 3 weeks in Rhode Island with my friends, every day meeting with them, praying with them, studying the Bible with them. It's like a whole new world opened up to me. But I eventually had to get back to California. When I got back to California, guess who I ran into? It must have been a coincidence. Randy, the bass player who was the cause of Darkstar coming apart. Randy was going to church, and I guess Shoshana had called him and said, hey, guess who gave their heart to Jesus? John. So he came and looked me up, and he took me to church. And he brought me to a church called Church on the Way. The pastor was Jack Hayford. And it was real cool because in that church, there were a lot of artists and musicians and music producers. Michael Omadian was going to church there with his wife, Stormy. Michael Omadian had produced an album with Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart. They did a cut. People Get Ready, a song from Curtis Mayfield, where he was trying to bring the gospel through rock and roll to a younger generation. And I met bands like Second Chapter of Acts used to go to church there. Bands and musicians that were just forming a new sound in the earth. I didn't know there was a thing called contemporary Christian music. But I found out real quick, there was a lot of great musicians that had had a similar experience like myself. And I started to find out you can do something with music to touch somebody else's soul. Instead of just going at the music to make yourself rich and famous and show everybody else what you can do, you could enhance and you can enrich somebody else's life by taking the talent you have and sharing what you learned about God through the music. Those early years in California, they really formed my Christian life. But then I started to get something on the inside of my heart. I sensed I needed to go back to Rhode Island. And so one day I made the decision, packed all my belongings together, put it in the car, drove by myself across country, ended up going to Rhode Island, not really sure what I was going to do. But I kind of sensed maybe there was something with my old friends, with the band that we once had. Maybe we could reform this band and we can share our testimony, share our story with others and tell them what Jesus did for us. That's when Darkstar was birthed into Morning Star, and something new began in my life.